Hello. What is trauma? From the perspective of mental health and recovery, from betrayal, abuse, or bullying, trauma is interpersonal trauma. The term nervous breakdown is no longer used by psychology professionals, but this term pinpoints exactly where we experience the larger part of trauma, in the nervous system. When we're exposed to repeated, persistent, or ongoing high stress, such as being bullied at work or devalued and dehumanized by a narcissistic other, our minds and bodies can react in a number of different ways. It used to be thought that we either ran away or turned to fight when faced with real or imagined threat. Now, polyvagal theory, amongst others, recognizes that there are other aspects to the human defense system. They include fight, flight, freeze, and fawn. Some therapists might use the term flop and drop, or collapse and submit, or please and appease, or attach, cry for help. All of these defenses are automatic. They're not personal choices, but rather more to do with the way our brains control our bodies, creating a feedback loop with emotions and thoughts. In other words, it's not your fault. It's about what happened to you, not what you chose. Dr. Ariel Schwartz, a psychologist and author of a number of excellent books on complex PTSD and trauma recovery, says this: with a history of trauma, you may be more likely to experience times when you feel anxious, panicky, restless, shaky, breathless, irritable, angry, or out of control. You might also be prone to feeling fatigued, lethargic, emotionally dull, helpless, heavy, depressed, shut down, disconnected, or numb. Self-knowledge of your nervous system can allow you to respond to these varying emotions and physiological states by engaging in practices that either re-energize or relax your mind and body. In essence, we've experienced a highly stressful event or a series of highly stressful events. The body's defense or survival system became immobilized and shut down. Any shame a survivor feels for not being able to fight or run away, but finding themselves frozen in a state of terror and helplessness, is misplaced. Dr. Schwartz goes on to say, at times your body might react to a stressful event even before you're aware of the trigger. Even without conscious awareness, your brain and body have released a cascade of stress chemicals such as cortisol and adrenaline. This is one reason why you cannot simply think your way out of symptoms of trauma. Rather, you must work with the body to maximize healing. You can bring conscious awareness to your sensations, movements, and breathing patterns, which allows you to use this information to better take care of yourself. The reference for these quotes from Dr. Schwartz will appear at the end of this video. It's not always wise or advisable to turn towards our traumatic memories or stories in a full-on way. Trauma recovery and trauma therapy practices are about slowly, gradually building up our internal capacity to hold the pain without becoming immobilized again. In Western psychology speak, we want to stay within our window of tolerance, enough to maintain a sense of safety and stability, to regulate our nervous system and avoid flooding with difficult emotions. In trauma recovery, it's wise for the sufferer and the compassionate souls who can support the traumatized person to consciously adopt an acceptance of slow progress that can be measured best by small, incremental steps. With trauma, a 2-week stay at a mental health retreat simply isn't likely to restore complete harmony and balance for the traumatized person. Trauma recovery takes time and effort, and most of all, it takes patience, courage, and self-compassion. Dr. Stephen Porges, the pioneer of polyvagal theory, notes the importance of sound in regulating the nervous system. Sound as therapy has been around in Eastern medicine for centuries. There, it is recognized that certain frequencies have a restorative and healing effect on the psyche. Now, Western science gives us research to show that certain sounds can regulate the nervous system in the way that a mother's lullaby can settle a baby. Music is but one kind of sound that is helpful for trauma recovery. Other sounds are the soothing, gentle tones of another human being's voice, spoken words, chanting, singing, or soft vocal tones. The voice of another is recommended in Buddhist psychology as an antidote to fear and anxiety in particular. The sound of waves, birds, and other natural sounds can also be healing. Sound baths or sound meditations, which use the sound of gongs, singing bowls or crystal bowls, flutes and whistles, have been used for trauma recovery in the Eastern spiritual traditions for centuries, in the way that hymns and choirs have been part of the Judeo-Christian traditions, or rhythmic drumming in shamanic traditions. This can't be thought of as airy-fairy stuff anymore. Our own Western psychology canon is growing to embrace the healing practices of the East, with research that explains how they work in a way that satisfies the most skeptical of science buffs. My personal attitude to helping a person heal their trauma is this: try everything. If it works for you, do it. If it doesn't work for you, forget it. Healing trauma is, after all, one giant, ongoing experiment. My heart goes out to those of you struggling with psychological trauma. I hope you find your own toolbox for recovery and the faith and hope to go on when there's no light at the end of the tunnel. I hope you find your light. Thank you for watching.